All right, let's get into it. Today, we're going to talk about something you've probably used 1,000 times and never really thought about. But believe me, behind this everyday object, there's this incredible story. We're talking genius, betrayal, and a huge fight for justice.
Yeah, that thing. The good old paper bag. It seems so simple, right? So basic. But the reason we even have them, the reason they're everywhere, is all thanks to an amazing inventor who had to fight against more than just engineering problems. She had to fight the prejudices of her entire era. This is way more than a story about a bag. It's about a revolution.
So let's go back in time. Picture it. It's the 1860s. You're at the general store buying your goods. But how were you supposed to carry all that stuff home? The bags they had back then were, well, pretty terrible. And a woman named Margaret E. looked at this problem and said, you know what? I can fix this. See, back then, what passed for a bag was basically just a big, flimsy envelope. It was V-shaped, couldn't stand up on its own, and was totally useless for anything heavy or bulky, like your groceries. Now, the bag we know today, that sturdy, flat-bottomed kind, it did technically exist, but you had to fold and glue every single one by hand, which made them super expensive, a real luxury. So the challenge wasn't inventing a better bag. It was figuring out how in the world to make them quickly and cheaply. And this right here is where Margaret Knight's genius truly shines. It's really important to get this. She didn't invent the bag itself. Her real breakthrough, the part that changed everything, was inventing a machine that could fully automate the whole process. She figured out how to create a single machine that could take paper and then cut, fold, and glue it into a perfect bag, all on its own. That was an incredible leap forward in automation. So by 1868, Knight had perfected her design. She even built a wooden prototype, and it worked like a charm. The next logical step was to patent it, but to do that, she needed a full-on iron version built. And this, my friends, is where the story takes a really dark turn. And just to give you an idea of how big a deal this was, look at this. A single one of Knight's machines could produce the same number of bags as a team of 30 skilled workers folding them by hand. 30! This wasn't just a small improvement. It was a game changer. It meant strong, useful bags could finally be affordable for everyone. So you can imagine how valuable the patent for a machine like this would be. So here's how the betrayal went down. Knight takes her plans to a machine shop in Boston to have that iron prototype made. And while it's being built, a guy there named Charles Annan sees it. He watches, he studies her complex design, and he copies it. Then he literally races to the patent office and files a patent for her machine under his own name. It was a brazen act of industrial theft.
So can you imagine? Knight goes to file her own patent, only to find out Annan has already been granted one for her idea. She was stunned, but she didn't back down. She immediately filed what's called a patent interference lawsuit. And this quickly became about so much more than a machine. It was a fight against the very fabric of society at the time.
And here it is. This was the core of Charles Annan's entire legal defense. It's actually shocking. He didn't even pretend to have evidence or blueprints. His whole argument was based on one simple, deeply sexist idea, that a woman, any woman, couldn't possibly understand how such a complex machine worked. He actually argued that she must have stolen the idea from him. So you see the contrast here. Annan's case was built on nothing but prejudice. Knight, on the other hand, she came armed with an absolute mountain of proof. We're talking detailed, hand-drawn blueprints, her personal journals and notes going all the way back to 1867. She brought her original wooden prototype, and she had witness after witness testify that they'd seen her working on this for years. It was an arsenal of facts against pure, ugly bias.
But fighting for justice was incredibly expensive. The trial dragged on for 16 days. And every single one of those days costs her $100 in legal fees. Now, that may not sound like a lot, but back then, it was a fortune. It's like paying almost $2,500 a day in today's money. She was literally betting everything she had to prove she was right. So, after 16 days of this intense legal battle, the court had a pretty clear choice to make. Was it going to be Annan's prejudice or Knight's overwhelming proof? Well, in the end, her evidence was just too much to ignore. It was undeniable. In 1871, she won. The court sided with her. And on July 11th of that year, she was officially awarded U.S. Patent number 116842. Her victory was so complete and so impressive that she even got international recognition for it. Queen Victoria of England herself awarded her a medal. What a comeback.
A Knight didn't just win in court and call it a day. No way. She immediately put that patent to work. She co-founded the Eastern Paper Bag Company and started churning out her invention, making cheap, reliable bags a reality. She didn't just change patent law, she completely revolutionized the entire retail industry.
But here's the thing. The paper bag machine was really just the beginning for her. Her career was so incredible, so prolific, that she earned a nickname that just says it all. They called her Lady Edison.
Over her lifetime, Margaret Knight was granted a staggering 87 patents. And these weren't just little tweaks here and there. She had major inventions in totally different fields, from machines that made shoes to new kinds of window frames and even improvements for automotive engines. The woman was just a relentless, brilliant inventor. And that victory in court, it was so much bigger than just her. It was a landmark case. She became the first woman in American history to win a patent interference lawsuit. She legally proved, in a court of law, that a woman could absolutely create a complex invention. It's this huge precedent that, when it comes to intellectual property, what matters is your evidence, not your gender. So what about that paper bag machine? Well, her design was so solid, so fundamentally brilliant, that its core principles are still being used today. Think about that. Right now, there are over 7,000 machines operating all over the world, making the same flat-bottomed bags we use every day, all based on the work she did over a century and a half ago. It just goes to show you, doesn't it? Sometimes the most amazing stories of human ingenuity and courage are hidden right in plain sight, in the most ordinary objects. So the next time you're carrying your groceries, maybe you'll look at that simple paper bag just a little bit differently. Thanks for joining us.